Hey, I'm Marc Stevens. Welcome back to the No State Project channel. Trying to do things a little bit different here. I had another tech issue. Hardly even record anymore, but it looks like my microphone died. But hey, what would the No State Project be without a tech issue? I got a couple things I want to talk about, and I'm hoping that doing it this way, it'll save me some time on the editing, and I get videos out a little more frequently. Two things I want to talk about here quickly in this video is people think that I'm different, which I don't understand. I don't get that at all. And that I see just a lot of logical fallacies in the comments. And I want, but before I talk about that, if you want to help support the show, you can do so. You can just go to the description, and you can not only get Government Indicted, but you can have a couple links to help support the show, and I can do more videos like this. And hopefully this will work out. This is from Mesa, Arizona, where it's always bright and sunny. So anyway, if you like the video, like it, comment, let me know what other videos you'd like to do, what other topics you'd like to see me discuss, and definitely sub if you are not subbed yet already. So the two things that I want to talk, one, first, I think it's kind of silly. People thinking, dude, what happened to you? What happened to Marc Stevens? I'm the same guy. I think that kind of what happened was we got too many Trump supporters, and so you got people who are proclaimed anarchists, or at least against government, that are big-time Trump supporters. Boy, I've never seen any group of people triggered quite as much as Trump supporters. I mean, I could talk about veganism and trigger meat eaters. I could talk about just ethics in general and really get the hate comments. But boy, you start talking about Trump, and I'll get to that. But I'm the same guy. I'm still an anarchist. I still believe in, the reason why I went vegan is the same reason why I'm an anarchist, and that is for ethics. And that I believe in basic principle of morality and ethics is live honestly, injure no one, and give everyone their due. Pretty basic, right? And I believe that applies to everybody. And even those who call themselves government. That just because somebody calls himself a government doesn't mean that the rules of ethics, the basic rules of ethics, don't apply to them. They don't think they do. I believe that they do, and that's why I'm an anarchist, and I reject the concept of rulers, which is all anarchy is no rulers. Remember, I always mention all the way back in Adventures in Legalland, which you can get in the description below. It's not necessarily the service that's the problem, it's the manner in which it's provided. And I'm against government in that if I was to do things as the government does, and I just was to force the entire community to give me money, even if I was going to do really good things like maintain a park, I'm a criminal. And that in Government Indicted I show extensive evidence to support my position that the majority of abuses that we have with those called government, and the problems that most people complain about, rightfully, are because the support is compulsory and unethical. So I'm the same guy. The only thing that's different is I'm not doing a show. And I did the show for 10 years. And I've covered a lot of the same ground, and I was already going to be transitioning and changing things up, not necessarily just taking calls with court. And if you are interested in that, which is great, those are some of the highest rated videos, then you can always still find that at my YouTube channel. Those are not going anywhere. And last on this, a number of people were thinking that I did not defend myself when I was attacked by the bar last year. And that is just not true. I did a whole bunch of shows on that, by the way. So you could just go back to the shows last March through May, and I talked about it extensively. So there's really no shortage there. So the evidence is there. But when the Bar Association admits that your accuser is making false statements, and they justify not sanctioning them or even striking them, they wouldn't even strike them, by saying that they were, well, those were just statements of opinion. Oh, Yeah. So one of the lies that he got away with was that I advertise, which I don't advertise. I mean, I did the show, and people supported the show, but I didn't advertise. I didn't go outside the show and actually advertise. So it was kind of, and that I preyed on vulnerable people. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to cover all that. I already did. I'm still the same guy, and I will mention that I could talk about Stephen Myrie and prosecutors and judges and police officers, and I could talk about the same ones 5 shows in a row. I could talk about it for every month for a year. I could talk about Stephen Myrie every single show. Not a single person has ever accused me of being obsessed with Stephen Myrie. I could talk about the loathsome, and Steve Myrie was the federal prosecutor who got a mistrial and a dismissal for the Bundys because he withheld exculpatory evidence, which is evidence that tends to show innocence, or that you're not guilty. And I could talk about Ken Anderson. I've spoken about him all the time. Jeez, what an example of a real piece of merda. Just an awful person. And he knowingly put an innocent man, prosecuted an innocent man for murder, who spent 25 years of his life in prison because of Ken Anderson. But not a single person ever accused me of being obsessed with Ken Anderson, even though I mentioned him quite a few times. But that gets me to the second point I want to talk about, and that is a lack of critical analysis and thought when it comes to someone like Trump. See, I could talk about Ken Anderson and prosecutorial misconduct every single show, and people weren't triggered by it because people saw the evidence. The evidence was easily verified. And because Ken Anderson is not the leader of a cult. There's no group of people that think that everything against Ken Anderson that's negative is fake news. It's fake news! Gosh, I get so tired of seeing that. So, once again, we'll talk briefly regarding the logical fallacy of hasty generalizations. This is just bad reasoning and arguing. The idea that all mainstream media is literally fake and scripted, and that everything negative against the twice impeached former president is literally fake. No truth to it whatsoever, made from whole cloth. That instead of having an editorial board and reporters and fact checkers, CNN just has fiction writers. Now, mainstream media has gotten it wrong, maybe deliberately so in some instances, but logic tells us that even though they got it so wrong, not all of them, but a lot of them, beating the war drums for the Bush war machine, the whole Iraq war invasion, weapons of mass destruction, total lies. Now, does that mean that everything from every mainstream source is fake? No. An example of recent fake news is that Fox News reported for a whole weekend that Joe Biden had a plan he was going to put in place regarding banning beef, and that you would only be able to have so much rationed beef. And it was completely fake as regarding Joe Biden because it had nothing to do with Joe Biden. And they had to do a retraction. But the damage had already been done. That's fake news. That's literally fake news. Now, as much as I hate Fox News and wouldn't watch it, you can't turn around and say it's completely illogical to say that everything on Fox News, because of one example, that all of it is fake. Hell, I wouldn't even think that everything on OAN or Newsmax is 100% fake. I mean, I have my own biases. I think everybody who's watched the show and followed the No State Project is aware. And we have what's called confirmation bias, where we're looking for information and only accepting information that fits our particular perception of the world. And we're going to just cherry pick. We're not going to look at any counter evidence. And we all have it. We all have to work against that affecting our judgments. So I know with me, based on experience, practically every day, that the police tend to lie on their police reports, and they join together, but they lie when they've killed somebody or used excessive force or brutality. Which is why I say, if you have video of it, don't let the cops know until after the official report is out so that you can have the video to contradict it. Also, you should stream it, even if you just streamed it to Facebook. Stream it so if they destroy your camera, they destroy your phone, you still have a working copy. Now, because the police and prosecutors guilty of prosecutorial misconduct, because they do it so often. Of course, we have a recent example with George Floyd where the cops lied on the police report and they actually said that there was a medical incident. Well, if by medical incident you mean you had a police officer kneeling on your neck for 9 minutes, then I could see where that would be. But does that then mean that every single cop in every single precinct is putting out 100% false police reports? No, it's probably a lot. There's no doubt that there's a lot, but we have to look at it on an individual basis. So it's completely illogical and a hell of a logical fallacy to think that all mainstream media, every single story, is fake. And I think that's just a crutch, because people have elevated a lifelong grifter. Let me put it this way. If we knew just one thing about the twice impeached former president, one thing, was that he mocked a disabled reporter. That's the only thing we know. Given just that, that is enough that you can see that he's a piece of garbage. Like most politicians. Although most politicians are not going to be so low as to mock the disabled. Now, I know I have my own bias. I don't have a disabled child, but I do have a special needs child. So it's particularly reprehensible to me that he or anyone else would mock someone who's disabled. Of course, you have the late Rush Limbaugh who mocked Marty McFly. He mocked Michael J. Fox, who has Parkinson's. Mocked him. That's it. That is, if that's all we know about these guys, is they mock the disabled. Piece of garbage. Absolute piece of filth. So the idea that the entire world is against the twice impeached former president, trying to hurt him, and that they're faking a global pandemic just to hurt him, it's absolutely nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous. Confirmation bias and a gross generalization. Maybe somebody in the comments can try to make an argument that somebody can mock the disabled and not be a piece of garbage. Well, I could say, yeah, he mocked the disabled, but still. Just make a cohesive argument in the comments. I'd love to see how anybody would argue that making fun of the disabled makes them a good person. And all this nonsense, all the media is fake, but anonymous Q and this QAnon crap, that's as real as it gets. The idea that Trump is still president and he's going to be inaugurated on March 4th and they signed an executive order and the whole military is backing him. No evidence. Quick to believe that. Quick to believe somebody who's willing to mock the disabled. Again, if that's the only thing we know, and there's a whole laundry list of other things we could get to. I'm not going to waste any more video time on that. So I think what we got to do, and I'll wrap this up, I think we have to, when we're going to investigate and look into something, first is the story on its face. Does it make any sense? So the idea that, again, that Trump is some kind of savior, It's just ridiculous. The man is a lifelong grifter. He cheated on his wives. He cheated on his current wife when she was having a kid and paid off a porn star. I mean, come on. He mocked the disabled. End of discussion. Piece of garbage. And we have to look at the multiple sources. There's video of him admitting to sexual assault. There's also pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein, and where he was good friends with him, at least for a while. And we have to be conscious of any confirmation bias, any kind of bias we may have. I mean, if we're looking at Trump as completely infallible, you got a problem. That the whole world is against him. Yeah, right. We all have these biases and we all have to work against them. So that's going to do it for this particular video. If you liked the video, definitely give it a like. If you want to hear other topics on the show, you want me to discuss a certain particular topic, put it in the comments and sub if you already are not. And you can go into the description and you can support the No State Project so that I can get more frequent videos and maybe get a new microphone. Man, doesn't matter what I do, the equipment doesn't work. So I got to really hope that this, I don't have a major malfunction here with this. Well, which has happened before, like when I questioned the Arizona, the Arizona Supreme Court Chief Justice. So hopefully that's not going to happen again. But definitely help support the show. You'll find the links in the description. And hey, till the next video, salud.